Rupert, both of us are trained scientists, you know. I went to MIT, and therefore I guess I probably suffer from the science delusion more than I realize. And in the halls of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, all the hallmarks are there to the great scientists, the great engineers, everything that was proven on paper. There's nothing talked about when it comes to spirituality or human energy or any of that stuff. And so I was brought up that everything has to be E equals MC squared, and this is this and this is that. And yet when I have one of these ayahuasca ceremonies, I am just seeing in plain sight that there's much, much, much more going on. But if you had told me at 22 years old, Rupert, that there was telepathy going on between football players, you know, I would have said that's ridiculous because I'm here at MIT and they tell me that's impossible because it's not measurable. How can I resolve my science delusion? And is that what I have?
Well, I think that the materialist ideology, which science is currently based on, I would say enslaved by, is the doctrine that matter's the only reality and matter's basically unconscious. So the whole universe, stars, galaxies, you know, exoplanets, other planets in our solar system, and our own planet itself are just unconscious mechanisms made of unconscious matter. And then for some mysterious reason, consciousness has evolved inside human brains, and maybe other animal brains as well. But according to the materialist theory, it doesn't actually do anything. It's a kind of illusion. It has no role. It's simply like a phosphorescence around the nerve endings of the mechanistic workings of the computer brain. That's the kind of official view. So psychedelics would, in inducing these states, would do so just by changing neurotransmitters. We know they do that in nervous activity, but it's all inside the brain. And yet, when we have these experiences, they seem to relate to realms of consciousness way beyond the brain. And so do all mystical and spiritual experiences, which is why all religions in all parts of the world and all tribal cultures take it for granted that there are forms of consciousness beyond the human level, whereas materialism and materialistic atheism take it for granted there's no forms of consciousness out there, there's just our brains. But since matter's supposed to be unconscious, we ought not to be conscious at all, which is why the very existence of human consciousness is called the hard problem in the philosophy of mind. And some philosophers spend their time trying to prove that we're not really conscious.
You're referring to your friend, Mr. Richard Dawkins?
Yes, that it's a kind of epiphenomenon of brain activity, or Daniel Dennett, the materialist philosopher, that it's a kind of illusion. The trouble is, calling it illusion doesn't solve the problem because illusion itself is a mode of consciousness. So it presupposes consciousness to call it an illusion. So materialists simply can't explain the fact we're conscious, which is why it's called the hard problem. So it's not as if they've got a brilliant theory of consciousness that explains it all. They haven't got one at all. And therefore, I think it's much more reasonable to take the traditional view that there are many forms of consciousness beyond the human level. Maybe the whole of Gaia, the planet, has a consciousness. I think the sun is conscious, and that is like the mind of the center of the mind of the whole solar system. I think the galaxy may have a galactic mind, that we're within, and the whole cosmos. And beyond the cosmos, there may be a transcendent mind that includes the whole cosmos. So there's maybe many, many levels of consciousness beyond our level. And spiritual and mystical experiences are ways of connecting with them. And when people have these, they feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves. They're part of a presence, a conscious presence greater than themselves. And that conscious presence is usually experienced as blissful.